While the king was sipping champagne and cheering on horses, his own brother was being quietly and permanently erased. No taites, no home, no ceremony. And this week, they took the very last thing he had left. This week in the royal world was wild. We had a queen caught on camera doing something utterly shocking for a royal. We had a future king making a surprise announcement nobody saw coming. We had glamour, drama, horses, and a pink dress that broke the internet. But underneath all of that, a very dark, very calculated move was made against one of the most disgraced men in British royal history. And trust me, this gets worse than you think, because the timing of what happened to Prince Andrew this week was not a coincidence. Let's start with the most glamorous event in the British royal calendar. Royal Ascot, 5 days of horse racing, champagne on tap, carriages rolling through cheering crowds, and royals dressed to absolute perfection. Day one arrived, and so did Zara Tindall, in a bubblegum pink princess dress, riding in a royal carriage like she owned the whole event. And honestly, she kind of did. The internet went completely crazy for that look. Then came the newlyweds, Peter Phillips and his new bride Harriet, making their very first public appearance since their wedding. Harriet stepped out in the most elegant pastel blue, glowing, radiant, absolutely unreal. But here's the moment that nobody expected. Queen Camilla, sitting in the royal box, watching a tense race on the course, was caught on camera biting her nails. The Queen Consort of England, live, on camera, in front of the entire world. Now look, the editors who caught this said it was the first time they'd ever seen her do it. And honestly, it's the most human, relatable thing a royal has done in years. The race had her so gripped, so tense, that royal protocol just flew out the window. And she's not alone, by the way. Meghan Markle once publicly admitted she was trying to quit the same habit, calling it unladylike in one of her old blog posts. So apparently, whether you're a duchess in California or a queen in the royal box, horse racing does something to a person. But here's what I really need you to hear. Because while Camilla was nervously watching the races, King Charles had a very A-list guest sitting right beside him. And the optics of that moment sent a very clear message to the rest of the world about where the king stands right now. King Charles was at Ascot, binoculars in hand, smiling, relaxed, and the contrast with everything happening in his family was impossible to ignore. This is a man navigating a cancer recovery, a family in ongoing turmoil, a monarchy under the microscope. And yet there he was at Ascot, living his best life. Their horse, Point of Law, was running in the Queen's Vase. Now here's where it gets emotional. The Queen's Vase is the same race that the late Queen Elizabeth won back in 2012 with her beloved horse Estimate. Charles was running a horse in a race his mother once won. That is not just sport. That is a son honoring his mother's memory. That is legacy lived out loud at one of Britain's most iconic events. And the racing experts gave Point of Law a solid chance, sitting around 8-1 in the betting with 2 strong runs already behind him. Speaker note, let that sit. Then pivot with energy. But Charles wasn't the only royal making moves this week, because Prince William just dropped an announcement. And if you care about where this monarchy is going, you need to hear this, because what William is planning for November, it tells you everything about the kind of king he intends to be. Prince William is going to guest edit Country Life magazine in November. Now, before you scroll past that, let me explain why this is actually a big deal. His father, King Charles, guest edited the same magazine twice. Once for his 65th birthday, once for his 70th. Princess Anne did it. Queen Camilla did it. It is a royal tradition, a statement of identity. And now William is stepping into that tradition, but with his own agenda. He's not doing it for a birthday. He's using it as a platform for mental health access in the countryside. His favorite view, his favorite painting, his favorite recipe, and a selection of the rural heroes he personally champions. The editor of Country Life said he was struck by how deeply William cares, not just about the land, but about the people who live and work on it. And while all this was happening, William was also visiting a farm in Devon. Hands-on, grounded, purposeful. This is a man preparing for a crown. Quietly, steadily, without drama. Which brings me to the man who will never wear that crown. The man who, this week, lost the very last piece of his royal life. What happened to Prince Andrew this week was not just a punishment. It was a door being shut. Permanently. Let's talk about Prince Andrew. Because the hits just keep coming for the disgraced former Duke of York. He's already lost his prince title. He's already lost the Duke of York title. He was forced out of Royal Lodge, the Windsor home he had lived in for years. He was stripped of his military affiliations. His association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein destroyed whatever public goodwill he had left. He was arrested on his 66th birthday. He remains under suspicion of misconduct in a public office. And you would think, at some point, there would be nothing left to take. But this week, King Charles found one more thing. Garter Day. The Order of the Garter is the oldest and most prestigious order of chivalry in the entire British Commonwealth. It dates back to 1348. We are talking about nearly 700 years of history. And every year, the sovereign knights, the royals, the most distinguished figures in Britain, they come together for a solemn, sacred ceremony. A procession, a service, an ancient tradition. Andrew was once a Knight of the Garter. He had a seat at that table. And on Monday, he was banned. Not from part of the day, from all of it. Every single element of Garter Day. The procession that William and Kate walked in. Proud, robed, representing the future of the crown. Andrew wasn't there. The ceremony that has united this family for generations. Andrew watched from the outside. Speaker note, pause. This is your silence moment. Let breathe for 2 full seconds. And the reason this matters so much, the reason the timing matters, is that Garter Day happened while Ascot was running, while Charles was laughing and cheering and living his best life in public. The machinery of the palace was quietly, coldly, removing Andrew from the last formal honor he had left. No announcement, no fanfare, just gone. That is not an accident. That is a message from a king to his brother that says, there is no way back. Remember what I said at the very start of this video? That Andrew was being quietly and permanently erased? This is what I meant. No taitas, no home, no garter, no ceremony. And with every week that passes, one more door closes behind him, while his nephew William walks toward a crown, while his brother Charles cements his reign. Andrew just disappears, piece by piece, from a family that once called him one of their own. So that is your complete royal recap for this week. The glamour of Ascot, a queen caught biting her nails, a future king quietly building his legacy, and a disgraced prince losing the very last thing he had. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think King Charles is handling Andrew the right way? Or do you feel, regardless of what he did, that family should have limits on how far the punishment goes? Drop it in the comments right now. Team Charles, or does Andrew deserve more compassion? And if you want to be first every time the royal family makes a move, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because with this family, the drama never stops.